The Paper Mario series has been getting quite a bit of flack over the past few years for constantly making games that aren't sequels to the Thousand Year Door, and while everyone was burying Color Splash on the Wii U, I was the only person defending it up and down, which resulted in me getting pantsed in public quite a few times. And you know what? Even though I never said that game was better than the first two Paper Mario games, I'd happily take 2 or 3 more pantsings defending it, because I still thought it was a great game that a lot of people missed out on out of stubbornness. However, despite the fact that my views on the newest Paper Mario game, Origami King, are very similar to my views on Color Splash, I can in good conscience defend it from the likes of Arlo and the rest of the hardcore Paper Mario fanbase. Why is that, you ask? Well, sit back in your dirtiest futon, press the subscribe button if you haven't already, and allow me, the world's strongest two-armed man, CameronAllOneWord, to tell you why I just can't defend Paper Mario and the Origami King, even though I do love it. Alright, so to explain why I can't defend Origami King using 6 billion words or less, I basically just don't think that Intelligent Systems and Nintendo have any excuses for not listening to the fans this time around. I mean, back when I reviewed Color Splash, my main point as to why people should have given that game a chance was that Intelligent Systems really had no way of knowing how frustrated the fanbase truly was until that first YouTube trailer dropped. And by that point, the game was kind of already finished, so they might as well have released it so that it didn't become another Star Fox 2 or Conker's 12 Tales. So I figured we might as well give the game a fair shot and try not to compare it too much to the Thousand Year Door, seeing as how I don't think there was any way in hell that Nintendo and Intelligent Systems didn't realize how badly fans wanted the classical style back thanks to the backlash the trailer got. And seeing as how there was no way Nintendo didn't get the memo, I was convinced that the next Paper Mario game, aka Origami King, would make things right. I mean, it's not like they ever made another Federation Forces after the backlash that that game got, and yeah, I guess if Color Splash sold like 10 million copies, and Nintendo might have taken that as a sign that people loved the sticker and card systems, but I still had faith that they learned their lessons. However, then came the Origami King, and it turns out I was only half right. Sure, they might have gotten rid of the inventory-based battle system that most of us hated, but the game still blatantly ignores so many things that the fans wanted that were made crystal clear. The first request they ignored was for unique party members based on classic Mario characters to return, which is the thing that I personally wanted the most. And yeah, there are characters that join you throughout the game, I guess, but they're only temporary and aren't even party members that you can control in battle or solve puzzles outside of battle with. So honestly, it's just not nearly as cool as it used to be, and as if that wasn't enough of a letdown, the character designs in Origami King are bland as all hell. Like I said earlier, in the first two Paper Mario games, your party members were all based on classic characters from the core series, but they each had their own unique designs, names, and personalities, whereas in Origami King, there's pretty much nothing unique about them whatsoever. To be fair, the characters here do at least have some personality, and I kinda like the dialogue, but it's almost worse that Intelligent Systems acknowledged our desires to see more characters involved in the game and then gave them to us in such a watered-down way. Apparently, the reason for the lack of unique characters is because Mario's dad, Shigeru Hot Stuff Miyamoto, told Kensuke, that Paper Mario guy Tanabe, that he wasn't allowed to create new characters by altering ones that already existed in the Mario universe, and that the team either had to create all new ones from scratch like Huey and Olivia, or leave characters that already existed untouched. And even beyond that, Tanabe also claims that Miyamoto ordered that the series was to stray away from its RPG elements and instead be treated as an action-adventure game, as well as not putting so much emphasis on a story, which are all huge gripes myself and many others have had with the past few Paper Mario games, and even more so with Origami King. I mean, we've never completely lost stories, but they've certainly been oversimplified and dumbed down since the first two games, and I think that's kinda lame. And yeah, Origami King does still have turn-based battles at least, and while the ring system might not be the greatest in history or anything like that, I still think it's pretty fun if I'm being honest, and I really like how unique it is. But what pretty much ruins it for me is that outside of boss battles that progress the story, there's absolutely no reason why you'd ever want to get into a battle on purpose, since the game doesn't have any kind of experience points or rewards for winning battles outside of coins. And look, I know experience points already went out the window a long time ago, but at least Color Splash gave you cards for winning battles, so even though I'm not losing any sleep over it, I can't really blame the hardcore fanbase for being so frustrated at this point. Again, the reason why I gave Intelligent Systems the benefit of the doubt with Color Splash is because just about everybody praised Super Paper Mario on the Wii, and while people did have complaints for Sticker Star on the 3DS, the initial backlash for that game wasn't as chaotic as it was with Color Splash, so I didn't get why the team would have seen anything wrong with improving the formula from Sticker Star, and while I have always preferred the classic mechanics myself, I respected the developers wanting to try new ideas rather than just pumping formulaic games out every few years like many other franchises will shamelessly do. Man, I remember back when Wind Waker first came out and nobody wanted to give the game a chance just because it had the audacity to try and have its own identity. So rather than refining the mechanics to that game and giving us its planned sequel on the GameCube, Nintendo had to scrap it all together so that they could instead give us Twilight Princess. And don't get me wrong, that was great too, but I personally felt like it was a little too much like Ocarina of Time, although at the end of the day, I don't blame Nintendo for doing it, because had they not given the people what they were clearly asking for, then Zelda fans would have just kept burying every Zelda game from that point forward, regardless of how great they were, until Nintendo caved. So again, based on all this, I was pretty sure that the next Paper Mario game would be an updated Thousand Year Door, which is why I was against the idea of that game getting an HD remaster, since I didn't think it was necessary. But as we could all see, the series didn't exactly listen to the fans like I thought they would, despite how vocal the community was, and given how intentionally vague the first trailer was, you could tell that they knew the game was going to be controversial, which makes you wonder why they wouldn't just make a game that they knew people would love. Regardless of whether Miyamoto's holding the series back, or if Tanabe's just being stubborn and throwing Miyamoto under the bus though, it doesn't really matter, because what's done is done with Origami King, so the only thing left to do now is figure out a way to ensure that the next game's a true return to form. And to me, the only two ways we can make this happen is for the fanbase to either be more vocal than they've ever been before, even if it means blowing Tanabe and Miyamoto's Twitters up, or by simply not buying Origami King, even if it's a used copy. But you know what, even though the classic games are definitely better, I can't stress enough that Origami King is still pretty damn good in its own right, so it'd be a shame to skip out of it over a protest, when we all know the games are still gonna sell out the ass anyway, just like Sword and Shield did, despite all the controversy that those games caused. I mean, if I'm being honest about Origami King, the music's literally as good as it ever was, the dialogue's genuinely hilarious sometimes, the graphics are great, and personally, I have a lot of fun finding all the toads, and find it very satisfying to see him slowly fill the seats up during battles. However, as great as the game is in its own right, it could have just as easily been way better, and it's not like wanting the series to reel things back would require the developers to put more work into the game or anything like that either. Not only that, but now that Nintendo's doubled down on keeping Paper Mario away from its roots yet again, they can't even salvage Color Splash by porting it to the Switch, since it's only gonna rile the fanbase up even more at this point. But had Origami King been closer to the RPG that fans wanted, then I really think that some of the disgruntled fans who skipped Color Splash might have finally given that game the fair shake it deserves. Again, I don't want to see the series become formulaic or stale by throwing innovation and progression out the window, but the fans have made it crystal clear to Nintendo what they want, and after all this experimentation, even I can't deny that Paper Mario has definitely strayed a little too far from its roots, and that it really was better before. So even though I'm going to continue enjoying Origami King, because it still is a great game if you don't compare it to the earlier titles that were completely different, I just can't find any way to defend Nintendo and Intelligent Systems from any backlash after they clearly ignored Paper Mario's most passionate fans. But anyway, what do you think about Paper Mario and the Origami King? Do you like it? Do you hate it? And regardless of how you feel, do you think the series should return to its roots or keep trying new ideas? Either way, let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always, I'll try my goddamnedest to respond to everybody at some point. But let me tell you, if there's two people who I'm sure could make great Paper Mario games, then it would definitely be today's patrons of the day, Gaz Owen and the Vidjabros. If you want to be badasses like these two, then consider supporting FU Game Crew on Patreon for loot boxes and silly rewards in the mail. Send pictures or videos of you rocking merch if you want to make cameos in my videos, and follow me on Twitch if you ever want to hang out whenever I play video games sometimes. My name's CameronAllOneWord, and I'll see you next time.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.